Okay, dear participants, welcome to our webinar, Third-Party Risk under DORA and NIS2. Before we starting, I would just kindly ask you to check your microphones, that they are muted. Also, all questions that you will have, please don't be shy, send them to the chat. We will come to them during Q&A session, where you will have opportunity to also make follow-up questions out loud or just write them. So how this webinar will go: at the beginning, our dear speakers, Mr. Mateusz Rostecher and Andrei Prozorov, will present themselves. Then we will move to the main content part, and then we'll have a Q&A session. So please, Andrei, would you introduce yourself first?
Yes, of course. I'm cybersecurity and privacy expert with around 20 years of experience. You can see a lot of my documents, and especially DORA Pro handbook. It's quite popular in Europe for financial and institution, especially. I'm working as an external consultant and as an internal cybersecurity, privacy, and GRC expert. Right now, I'm working at Finom. It's a Dutch electronic money institution, so I know well about DORA, implemented it, and I'm planning to share my experience during this presentation. I'm also quite good aware about NIS2, about some local requirements, about framework, and we can discuss everything around this two regulation in terms of third-party risk management. Mateusz, please.
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Mateusz Rostecher. I'm from Slovenia. Yes, I am working in the financial sector, IT, for more than 30 years. Originally, I designed and implemented insurance core systems across the DACH region, so the German-speaking countries, and also the Middle East and also Eastern Europe. And yeah, in the last years, I am specialized on developing tools for the regulations that popped up in the European Union, in particular DORA and NIS2. I work with mostly with financial institutions all over Europe. Many of the countries that were mentioned today from the participants, I also work with, including Malta, Cyprus, Germany, Latvia, Estonia, and so on. Yeah, so, I'm looking forward today to really discuss with you, to have a practical workshop with experience around NIS2 and DORA, and how to get this thing going with not too much effort, but also not to miss the point of it. So really to increase our security and digital resilience, because there are a lot of challenges. Yes, we know that there are attacks, so we have to not just see it as a let's say, as a bureaucratic thing, but also a thing of reality. Yes, thank you very much, and back to you, Andrei and Lisa.
So today we are here, me and Mateusz, and we are planning to discuss a lot of topic related to third-party risk management from different focuses. For example, I'm an implementer, I'm an auditor, I have some experience with NIS, I have some experience with DORA, working mostly with Cyprus, the Netherlands, and Finland. Mateusz worked with different areas, like Germany, so your experience in Germany is quite valuable for this presentation. So let's discuss a lot of things today, a lot of topics, and you can see our agenda here. So we highlight that we're planning to discuss DORA and NIS2, because these two the most important regulation right now in Europe, especially in terms of cybersecurity. Of course, we also have in mind some GDPR or CRA acts or AI acts and something like that. But we are focusing today on DORA and NIS2. So I will provide some high-level information about the requirements related to third-party risk management. After that, I will give you some examples, some expectations from supervisory in terms of DNB. It's, as I mentioned, it's a Dutch bank. We were receiving a lot of requests, questionnaires, and I will provide information about DNB's expectations in terms of third-party risk management. What kind of evidence they expect, what kind of information they request, what kind of process they want to see in our companies. The same approach is for other countries, but DNB asked us about anything related to third-party risk management, so it's a quite good example. The second part of our presentation, I will shortly introduce you third-party risk management lifecycle, and we will discuss some practical things, how to implement, how to comply with some requirements, how to start some processes, and we will discuss some automation opportunities. So I'm here to provide you some theoretical part and some practical part from my experience. After that, Mateusz will provide some demonstration of how to automate some third-party risk management processes for DORA and NIS2 compliance. And we also I hope we save some time to Q&A session. So we received some question and we prepared some answer for that question. And if you have additional question during this webinar, please feel free to send them in the chat. And I hope we have a lot of time to discuss this question and provide our approaches, our experience in terms of that. So this is our plan for today. And maybe Lisa, do you want to say something about our agenda, about our timeframes, or we should start our main part of the presentation?
Yeah, I think we can actually move. Just will shortly say that approximately we'll have 30 minutes for the first theoretical part, then we'll move to the part with the practical demo, where you would be able to see everything. But overall, don't be afraid. All your questions, we will try to answer to them. We planned this in such a way that we will have enough time for your questions as well at the end, so it will be really practical. So please feel free to ask us at the end, and hopefully you will be able also to stay longer with us, so you can ask your questions as well out loud and we have a discussion. So thank you very much, and I think we can move on.
Sorry,
it was
sorry.
Yes,
Can I ask? Sorry. So if some questions pop up during the meeting, like especially in the practical side of things, is it better to wait until the QA time, or we can ask right away?
You can send the questions to the chat and we will discuss them at the end. It's just better so we can go through all the material prepared, and at the end we will discuss. Also, if it will come to the point that we'll have too many questions to discuss, we'll always, no worries, we'll come back to you and come back with the answer to your question either at the end today, or we will send you an answer.
Okay,
So
thank you. Yeah,
it will be answered.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we received around 20, maybe more questions in advance. So we just prepared some slides related to this question. For example, it was some question about risk assessment. So I made a slide with some risk topics which should be assessed during that assessment. Or we have a couple of questions related to DORA Register of Information, and Mateusz will present the module and will present how they work with this type of information during the maintaining of Register of Information. or it was some question about contractual requirements, and we also prepared slide for that. So if you have some simple question or comments, feel free to put it in the chat. It's a simple question, and we don't have some slides for that. I think we can discuss or highlight it shortly during the presentation, but if we need some more time for that, we will discuss all the question after the presentation. So we allocate a lot of time for Q&A session. So right now we have 40 minutes for my part, 40 minutes for Mateusz, and 40 minutes, maybe more, for Q&A session, because we have many questions to discuss. Because third-party risk management as a topic, it's quite difficult for some reasons, especially for DORA, because we have a lot of specific requirements, and different regulation authority provides different opinions, different guidelines, how to implement that in practice. So it would be great to discuss a lot of things. So this is our plan for today.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for your question. So yes, we have some question about the implementation DORA, and we have some answers a little bit later. So let's start. Let's short overview about third-party risk management under DORA and NIS2. So the first part, it's and the simplest part is NIS2 directive. If you see the main text of directive, there are a lot of requirements, but most of them are related to supervisory authorities, some local acts. And if you're talking about cybersecurity risk management measures, it's just maybe 1 or 2 page requirements in the directive. And if you're talking about third-party risk management, supply chain security is just simple 1 measure. Supply chain security, including security-related aspects, and should be implemented. And some comments about that. We need to understand vulnerabilities, assess quality of products, and be sure that our suppliers implement best cybersecurity practice in their products and services. So that NIS2 directive provides only high-level direction for third-party risk management, for supplier security, and we have to have it in mind, but we need to find some guidelines in other documents, in other local acts. If you're talking about NIS2, it is important to see and work with ENISA, because ENISA is the main cybersecurity authority in Europe. And there are 2 important guidelines. The first one is focusing only on supply chain cybersecurity. It was issued 3 years ago, and it's quite interesting guidelines focusing on good practices for supplies and chain cybersecurity. So this is our main guidelines about this topic. But if you're talking about NIS2 as a regulation, NIS2 guidelines, it is important to have in mind the second technical implementation guidance. This is only one guidance related to NIS2 from the ENISA, and it's cover all the measures, including supply chain security, security network in acquisition, development, and maintenance. So everything we need in terms of third-party risk management. Only one issue for these guidelines, it's about the scope of the document, because this technical implementation guidelines focusing on the only one specific sector of NIS2, but if we don't have any other guidelines from ENISA, most of organizations use that guidance as good practices for NIS2 implementation, and especially for terms of third-party risk management. Of course, if you're talking about NIS2, it is important to use national cybersecurity frameworks. On the slide, you can see the list. As I mentioned, there are a lot of national cybersecurity frameworks and standards, and usually national authorities expect that organization aware about these frameworks, standards, or requirements, use them as guidelines for some frameworks. For example, if you're talking about Spain, it's mandatory requirements. And we have to be ready to use this framework as a NIS2 implementation guidelines related to different countries. All of these requirements covers the whole NIS2 domains, especially, and all of them, of course, cover third-party risk management area. To be honest, some of them focusing on ISO 27001 approach, some of them focusing on NIS2 cybersecurity framework. For example, the most important and valuable one is Belgium COFAN. They also can use some unexpected global framework and standards like T2 and 2. It's a US-based framework. Finnish authority use that approach. But we have to understand and work with national cybersecurity framework and national cybersecurity acts if we're talking about NIS2. For supply chain security, we also have some official guidelines from national authorities. For example, my favorite guidelines from Denmark. I can really recommend that one. And especially I like it because the full life cycle is described in the document. You can also use guidelines from the Netherlands, from Ireland, or I also like some guidelines from UK. And for NIS2 related frameworks, we have a couple of interesting frameworks from DORA. It's a Dutch organization. You can see some guidelines from ETSI, and you can find some additional guidelines from NIS Cooperation Group. And of course, they also have some requirements and measures for supply chain security. So if you're talking about NIST, we can find some additional guidelines, some additional recommendation in that framework, NIST-related guidelines, or national cybersecurity centers, supply chain security guidelines. So this is our starting point. If you're talking about DORA, it's quite tricky because we have a lot of requirements under DORA itself, and we have a lot of specific requirements in Commission delegated regulation or Commission implemented regulation. For example, we have a lot of requirements in DORA in Chapter 5, management of ICT third-party risk, and all of them mandatory for financial entities. We have really useful and detailed requirements for ICT third-party policy, and this document also describes the full life cycle of third-party risk management. We have some recommendation for subcontracting in the second one, and of course, if we're under DORA, we have to maintain and provide to the authority a register of information like a DORA ROI, and we have specific requirements for that. So all the fields are documented and all the fields are mentioned by the authority. Also, if we are financial entity, we have to work with EBA guidelines on outsourcing arrangements. And you might know about another EBA draft guidelines related to sound management of third-party risk, but it's for outsourcing, but not for ICT services. And DORA right now covers a lot of domains in terms of third-party risk management. It's governance and strategy, third-party risk management and due diligence, a lot of requirements for contracting, a lot of requirements for monitoring and oversight, a lot of requirements for resilience testing and monitoring, BCP tests, and something like that. And we have an additional and quite stressful challenge for us. It's an implementation of TLPT test and conducting these tests because we also have to add our critical suppliers under TLPT scope. So there are a lot of requirements. If you see the presentation, you can find all the requirements and references on that slide or in the DORA handbook, which you can receive after the presentation. The main, if we compare third-party risk management from NIS2 and from DORA, it is simple. The most important thing that DORA contains a lot of specific requirements, but NIS2 provides high-level requirements. If we're talking about DORA, a lot of requirements spread across DORA, CDRs, CIRs, related guidance documents, and some regulation authority can provide additional guidelines or templates for third-party risk management. For example, I work for the Netherlands. So we work with cooperation with DNB, and there are additional requirements and templates for outsourcing risk management, and it's quite useful documents for us. If you're talking about NIS2, general complex cybersecurity approaches can be implemented, like ISO 27001, NIST CSF, ISF COGP, C2M2, or you can use specific set of standards 27036 or NIST guidelines as a practical implementation baseline. But if you're talking about DORA, it requires a quite mature third-party risk management framework, which covers a lot of governance, a lot of risk assessment thing. It covers contracting, monitoring, resilience, and like a new option, new requirements related to exit plans and exit management. Third-party risk management under NIS2 is quite flexible in implementation approach, and there are just simple questions about the level of implementation and evidences, but DORA expects a lot of evidence and a lot of reporting obligation. And I will discuss, I will present this information a little bit later. NIS2 focusing on cybersecurity and supply chain security, but DORA covers the whole third-party risk management cycle. It covers outsourcing, operation resilience, concentration risk, a lot of requirements for subcontracting and regulatory reporting. So in practice, NIS2 defines the what, and DORA prescribes the how for the IST third-party risk management. In practice, it's quite, it produces a lot of questions because many requirements from DORA doesn't align well with each other. For example, DORA requirements and outsourcing requirements. Or DORA expect a lot of small things which consume a lot of time for preparation. For example, DORA ROI, because we have a lot of requirements, what kind of fields we have to provide in this register, we're spending a lot of time for that. So DORA, a lot of specific requirements. NIS2 is like a general direction, general requirements for the supply security. Of course, if you're talking about third-party risk management, we don't need to forget GDPR. It's about privacy, but in terms of privacy, in terms of GDPR, we have a controller-processor relationship, and we have some specific requirements for processor. Sufficient guarantees, data processing agreement, audit rights, sub-processor oversight, and more and more and more. And many of our suppliers, they process personal data. That's why we also need to have in mind this requirement for the European companies. So this is everything I want to share about the main requirements, guidelines, and framework. And I'm planning to discuss some specific expectations in terms of DNB. But if you have some questions, maybe we can spend a couple of minutes for answering right now. If you have it in the chat, let me see. Very nice question about NIS2 and applicability for payment institution. Right now, if you're talking about general payment institution, of course, DORA is our main requirements and main regulation. But if we have some credit function, if we have some credit license, we also need to be ready for NIS2. For example, it's my current case. Now we have I work at Finom, and we have electronic money institution license, and we're under DORA. And right now we are receiving additional banking license for credit, and after that we have to be compliant also with NIS2, with additional notification for the incidents, and we have additional requirements for incidents notification. It is mandatory for us, and we also received these comments from the authority, from the DNB, so we have to be ready. One interesting thing about that, about notification, if we are under DORA, we have to be provide information during working days, so we can skip some holidays. But under NIS2, we have to be ready, provide information about our incidents 24/7. This is the main problem for us, and we need to improve our capabilities in terms of incident management and incident notification. So in general, for most financial institutions, NIS2 is not applicable, but for some cases, we have to be ready for NIS2 also. It is important. Because it's additional compliance requirements, additional authority who can ask us. Because for DORA, we work with financial authority, and NIS2, we need to cooperate and participate with the National Cybersecurity Center or some types of authorities. This is an important thing. Do we have some any questions related frameworks and guidelines? Okay, let's move on. The second part of my presentation, it's about what kind of expectations security, or in my case, it's a financial authority, they have in terms of third-party risk management. It's quite new information. You can find this in any public sources, so I can share this because we have close cooperation with the DNB, the Netherlands Bank, it's the Dutch Bank. So third-party risk management, it's important part of supervisory activity. It's important part of risk management. And during the last 2 years, we received a lot of requests in terms of third-party risk management. First of all, every year we are receiving IT and cyber risk self-assessment questionnaire. It's in June or July. We haven't received this request this year, but I can provide information for the last year or 1 year before. For last year, it contains more than 100 questions in 3 parts. The first part was about general data. The second part is about our IT risk level self-assessment. And we have the bunch of questions about IT outsourcing. And in the first part of this questionnaire, we received a lot of questions about our controls in terms of general risk. And we also have a lot of controls related to outsourcing arrangement. And it's not only the questionnaire. DNB also asked us about some audit reports. So we also sent internal audit reports as a confirmation that we assess, we checked these things. I provide more details on the next slide. This year, we also received some specific third-party risk management questionnaire. The purpose of this questionnaire is to support a self-assessment of our institution in terms of third-party risk management and DORA. And in this form, we received 31 questions related to strategy, governance and risk, policy, procedure, resilience, incidents and testing, monitoring and oversight, and internal audit finding. And the authority also requests us all the documents related to third-party risk management, policies, strategies, some registers, and etc. Of course, we're under DORA, and we need to send digital DORA ROI. It's a register of information in terms of contractual requirements. We send regularly in Q1 every year. And this year, we also receive separate requests from the DNB, and they asked us about ICT risk management framework annual review report. And we sent this report to the DNB. We also received a couple of emails related to TLPT, and DNB expected that we will be ready for TLPT tests in a couple of years, and they can provide us additional resources and additional guidance in that terms. So they expect that we will conduct TLPT tests and with the scope of our critical suppliers by the middle of 2029. So we have a lot of time for that, but DNB asked us about. So we have a lot of requests, we have a lot of questionnaires related to third-party risk management from the authority, and I mentioned only the DNB because we work with that. We also work with Cyprus, and we're expecting the same request this June, July. As I know, some authorities from Germany also request some similar question to financial entities. I also have heard some similar cases from Finland. So from my point of view, there are a lot of questionnaires, there are a lot of requests related to third-party risk management around the Europe. So let's be more specific about the questions and the expectations. So if we're talking about the first annual request, we have a lot of questions related to ICT outsourcing risk, numbers of outsourcing contract, numbers of cloud. DNB asked us about what kind of providers we use, what kind of how often we evaluate third parties, how many reviews or tests that cover outsourcing parties have been performed in the reference year, and how many ICT and cybersecurity incidents have been reported related to outsourcing. So they're focusing on incidents related to our suppliers or suppliers and sub-suppliers. So these questions were in the first part, and we have a lot of specific requirements about IT risk controls in terms of outsourcing, and they also asked us about to assess our level of controls in terms 4 to 1, and they asked us about has the topic been in scope of an independent audit and requests audit reports. They ask us about risk assessment, policy, monitoring of third parties, concentration risk, strategy, involvement of our management board in assessment or some decision. They ask us about exit strategies. They ask us about subcontracting, due diligence, and etc. So a lot of questions, different topics. It was from the last year, and we expect the same questions this year. If you're talking about specific third-party risk management questionnaire, unfortunately, I can't provide the real questions. Here, I don't know why, but they mentioned that it's quite confidential, and they made this label for the questionnaire and sent like a protected Excel file there. So I just highlight some topics which they asked. So in terms of strategy, they asked us about ICT third-party risk strategy, multi-vendor strategy, and alignment with enterprise risk management. In terms of governance and risk, they expect clear roles and responsibilities, management body review, supply chain oversight, and having reporting channels about arrangement, material changes, major incident. They ask us about risk appetite and tolerance, ask us about conflict of interest oversight, and request some evidence of that. They expect documented policies and procedure. They expect some incident escalation and reporting procedure, BCP testing for critical functions, backup and recovery policies, information and examples of exit strategies. And in terms of monitoring, they expect that we have some monitoring not only for security, but also for SLAs, for key performance indicators, and general compliance. They expect that we monitor and oversight supply chain, sub-suppliers, for parties, and everything else. And we can discuss it with the management board, and that's a very interesting thing that our internal audit function, they should audit third-party risk management area in our organization and have this audits in plan. And the NBA expect us to provide them information about the findings, about the non-conformities and actions for improvement. So I sum up all the questions, all the topics of interest of authorities. So this might be quite interesting for you. So DNBS and supervisory authority, they expect that we have really great focus on critical important functions and supply chain, and we have some mapping between functions, suppliers, sub-suppliers, and other assets. And we will discuss about that later, I hope, because we had some question. DNB expect that we describe and implement management body role in terms of strategy, risk appetite, oversight. We defined other roles in terms of third-party risk management and reporting channels and triggers for reporting. We have documented strategy and policies, and we have internal audit of third-party risk management area of third-party risk management function. We have a lot of requests related to contracts, onboarding, pre-contract risk assessment, concentration risk, conflict of interest, written contracts with audit and access rights, like common requirements. A lot of requirements for ongoing management, like regular monitoring, subcontracting oversight, incident registration and notification, BCP testing, and future TLPT. And of course, they expect maintained DORA register of information. And it's quite stressful thing for us. It's everything related to exit strategies for IST third-party arrangements supporting critical or important functions. So as you can see, there are a lot of different questions. There are a lot of different topics of interest. And unfortunately, we have to be ready to provide all the information related to this topic, provide all evidence related to this topic, and have to be ready to present everything we have. This is approach from the DNB, and unfortunately, I expect the same approach for other local, national financial authorities, and for the future, we have the same for cybersecurity. Unfortunately, this is the thing. Let me see, maybe you have some question or comments in terms of regulation expectations. No. I think there is no question about that. So be ready for that. And if you're talking about some practical things, let's shortly discuss some implementation parts. So I can recommend split your implementation phase into two. First one, you have to establish the foundations. And the second phase, you should enhance and mature your third-party risk management framework. First of all, you have to establish third-party risk management policy, governance model, and clear ownership. You have to identify critical and important functions, maintain some contract register. You have to create supplier inventory and implement basic supplier classification. You have to establish a minimum due diligence process. You have to start some supplier risk assessment in terms of different areas: operational, information security, privacy, compliance, concentration risk, and review key contracts for essential provisions: security, audits, incident identification, termination rights, something like that. And of course, you have to start reporting on key suppliers and risk to senior management and the management body. This is the first steps. Unfortunately, we have a lot of steps here, but we have a lot of requirements and expectations from the authority. For the phase two, we have to improve our approaches, more focus on subcontractors, more focus on performance monitoring, and supplier risk monitoring, test and manage concentration risk, and focus on that topic. It's not the first one, but it's really important thing. Introduce service and dependency mapping, strengthen contractual controls, perform supplier audits, assurance review and resilience testing, develop exit strategies and contingency plans, and increase automation reporting for continuous improvement on third-party risk management process. So if you have questions, we will discuss it a little bit later, because we can discuss all these topics and go deeper for all of them. So let's discuss it by the end of the presentation. So this is just high-level overview with high-level highlights, how to start with third-party risk management and what kind of elements have to be implemented. I also use my own third-party lifecycle model to understand what kind of evidence, what kind of actions we have to implement in different stages during the govern, assess, contract, onboard, monitor, and exit stages. I don't want to go deeper on that model right now. If you want, we can discuss it today, or you can find some information in this presentation, or you can request the full model from me. I can share it, no worries about that. The most important thing that slide, because if you're talking about the whole model, third-party risk management pro life cycle, we have to be ready for a lot of elements of this model. Prepare strategies, prepare some framework for risk assessment, for due diligence, prepare some monitoring and oversight activities. In terms of assess, we need to be ready to provide due diligence, risk assessment, some reviews, and preparing some register of information, for example. In terms of contract, we have a lot of things to do. In terms of onboarding, we have to provide access rights, we have to implement some security measures and additional controls. In terms of monitor phase, we have to be ready to monitor performance, quality, and other SLAs. We need to control risk and control and effectiveness of controls. We have to be ready to notify and handle incidents. We have to be ready to conduct audits, inspection, and assurance. And of course, the stage is about exit. So we have to be ready to exit from the contracts. We need to have some plans, we need to have some checklists and be ready for that. So there are a lot of action points, and if you're talking about DORApp, for the second part of the presentation, we can discuss some practical process, and we will highlight some process which can be automated and which should be automated from the first stage. So that's all from my side right now. So let's see and let's discuss some practical process from Mateusz, and after that we will discuss some questions if you have it. I think you have a lot of questions, so we will continuously discuss them after the Mateusz part. Please.
Okay, thank you, Andrei. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Well, yeah, super. Okay, so now we will get to my part of the presentation. And first of all, I will share my screen.
Dear participants, meanwhile Mateusz is sharing, please notice that in the chat you have a poll, and you can take part in it already. Please don't be shy. give your vote. I think for everyone this will be also interesting to see. Thank you.
Okay, so we thought maybe to start, as Lisa said, yes, with a poll. Yeah. So the question is how the nature is, your organizations, how mature is your organization's DORA and NIS2 management approach. So it's just an initial stage, mainly spreadsheets and manual processes. It's developing a mix of manual processes and GRC tools. It's managed centralized governance with defined workflows, or even optimized, automated, continuously monitored, and audit ready. So you're now welcome to answer that poll. And I hope that Lisa will share the answers with us.
Yes, of course, it's already, for now, 16 people responded. So 18% are at initial phase, 56% are at developing phase, and 25% are at managed phase. So maybe just a minute more. Please, you have poll in the chat, and you can take, you can submit your answers in the chat, so we will have a bit more responses. Okay.
And it was some question about what is the most difficult part of the DORA implementation. And from my point of view, DORA as a requirement expect that we have really high level of maturity of our processes, because they have a lot of requirements for key risk indicators, controlling, oversight, reporting, and a lot of specific requirements. And if we don't have high level of maturity of our processes, we are not fully compliant with DORA. This is the main obstacles for DORA implementation. It's maturity level of our processes.
Yes, maybe, Andrei, I would add that it's also what really DORA stresses is also the responsibility that the management has, that it gives to the management. Yeah, so basically, it is really important, and the regulators will not just check that you have some documentation written, yeah, but they will check if you really are living this digital operational resilience, and they will also check if the management understands the digital resilience strategy. Yes, they are responsible. They also have understand their risk management strategy according to DORA. That's really very important to start that. Obviously, then there are a lot of detailed issues, yes, operational issues, but I think it's all starts with that.
Okay, dear speakers, I think that we can move to the next question. Currently, just will say that we have 21 responses, and the biggest phase is most of the companies in developing phase. So it's 57%, in initial 19%, and in managed 23%. So now, Mateusz, I think that you can move to the next.
Sure.
Okay. And dear participants, you will see the next poll where you as well can answer.
Yeah, so the question is, if your regulator requested evidence today, how confident are you that you could provide complete, accurate, and up-to-date information? Yeah. So if you would get this request today to deliver, how sure are you that you can do this right away without a day, a week, or a month of additional preparing of documentation?
Already 11 people have responded. So, interesting. Yeah, please submit your answers I see that you're still in the process, and you can find one more time questions in the chat. 17 responses. 18. So currently 44% have some concerns. Most confident, it's still going. Okay, we'll see, maybe a few more people. 19 responses. Okay, so 42% have some concerns, 31 mostly confident, fully confident just 5%, just one participant is fully confident, and 25% significantly concerned. So
okay, so the majority is not so sure to do it. So I congratulate. I think it's 5% that the ones
is
that are
just the one person, yes.
okay. That maybe in the Q&A we could talk about how they manage this. Yes, it would be interesting to hear. Yeah, maybe I will just go on now, Lisa, and to the next slide and start with this practical part. So what we see and really notice is that third-party risk management under DORA and NIS2 is really a continuous and collaborative approach, life cycle, yeah, not a yearly Excel exercise, yes. So basically this is simply not possible anymore. And it's not just filling out a table once per year and saying we are compliant. I think that already Andrei talked about this a lot from the regulators' regulation point of view, yes. So basically, there needs to be a process, yes. There needs to be governance. There needs to be evidence, yes. There needs to be an audit trail. And this is very hard to do if all the participants involved just fill out their own Excel spreadsheets for, I don't know, for the one does the register of information reporting, the other does, I don't know, sending out questionnaires to the suppliers and doing risk assessment. The other one creates an exit plan, and another one makes the contract negotiation and so on. If it just doesn't fit together, then the whole thing, you simply cannot be compliant. Yeah, and especially you can't be resilient. Yeah? That's the even more important part. And the challenges in third-party risk management that we see with our clients is that there are simply many people involved. Yeah, and people who started with this from scratch. They in DORA usually 2 years ago, the first thing that had to be created is this so-called inventory of all the third-party services and service providers, including the supply chain, the so-called register of information. And usually it was the whole task was given to one department, or some smaller companies, even one person. Yeah, but then they very quickly realized that that's not possible. Yes, that this is something that the departments need to do together. Yeah. Also, we see that there are really many different rules. Yes, we had a question today: DORA or NIS2, and what has got preference? We know that DORA has got preference, but there are different rules, and all have to be taken into account. Yes, and also there are too little connections. Yeah, especially in DORA. DORA pays a lot of attention to functions, or we could also call it processes. Yes, so, and especially if these processes or functions are critical or important or not. Yes, and then we have contracts, we have risks, we have contractors and subcontractors, yes, contractors, and all these are connected. Yeah. And if everybody's got their own Excel sheets, the connections are just not seen. Yes, you don't have it, but the regulator will want to see that. And okay, this brings me to the next point, that there are just too many spreadsheets, yes, and emails, and no audit trail. Yeah. And last but not least, too much manual work with those Excel files and emails and so on. Yeah. So this is what we see. And of course, we see sometimes there are already systems in place. Yes, there might be a GRC tool, yeah, and so on. But usually they are really not well connected to each other. And so this also then leads to disconnected decisions. Yes. So if somebody defines what the functions are and what the criticality is, because DORA requires this on one hand, and somebody else defines the risk a supplier presents, and these two things are not connected, yes, then this is not compliant with DORA. Yeah? And if somebody on one hand defines contracts with those minimum contractual requirements, yeah, on one hand, and the other one then monitors it with questionnaires, and the one doesn't know what the other is doing, this is again leads to disconnected decisions. Yes, and the same is of course we have our suppliers, vendors, and but they have subcontractors. If we don't know about the subcontractors, yes, then this is again we have to always look at the whole supply chain. Yeah? So I could really now continue here. Yeah? So that's the point, that really the decisions cannot be any more disconnected, and this is a real risk. And those NIS2 and DORA really want us to get better at that. Yes. So what we really need is full life cycle coverage. We need contractual compliance. Yes. We need supply chain, complete supply chain visibility, and audit-ready evidence, and also the traceability to functions, especially to the ones which are critical and important. That's really important. This is what DORA requires us to do. On the other hand, NIS2 requires us has got security requirements in the supply relationship, including the whole supply chain. Yes, it also requires supplier-specific risk assessment, business continuity management, and the secure acquisition, development, and maintenance. That's very important. And at the end, like DORA, also evidence and accountability. So the things are maybe named a little bit differently, yeah? But at the end, the requirements are similar. Yeah? And based on that, yeah, is what we do in the last years is simply try to help with tools to automate third-party risk management. We started with the famous register information for DORA. The second thing we also did is AI-based contract review that checks if all the mandatory DORA clauses are included, because DORA really defines what are the minimum contractual requirements for either suppliers that serve critical or important functions, or the ones that not, so that they are different. Yeah. What we defined is a system with structured questionnaires that allow us in the when we onboard or we acquire a new service, yes, and also then in annual monitoring, yes, and those questionnaires ensure really a consistent and repeatable data collection, yeah, and also then automatically filling the services inventory, so in the register information in the case of DORA, and also based on those questionnaires allows risk assessment and criticality evaluation. For that, of course, automated risk scoring is very beneficial, and so basically we have the whole thing is then rounded up with a task and workflow management system. Yes, here we started with when we looked at the whole process here, we said, okay, it's actually very similar to what CRM systems do. Yes, so in sales we also have a lot of interaction with clients. Yes, and we have workflows, we have tasks, we have deadlines, and so on. Yes, and here it's not any different. Just it's not clients, it is our suppliers. Yes, so what we have in DORApp is also a task and workflow management system that helps to define and then coordinate the different co-workers in the departments. Yes. And last but not least, is what we need, especially for DORA, is also business impact analysis. Yes. And this is very important that it is not a business impact analysis just looking at the service itself, but it's again a function level. Yes. So it's important what the impact is on the function, not the service itself. Yeah. So if we have an insurance company that sells insurance contracts, yes, and now we have a core insurance policy management system. Yeah, we don't assess the impact alone if this system doesn't work, but we have a function which is called, I don't know, contract management. Yes, and we first look at what happens if contract management doesn't work, and this might involve then different systems, different internal or external services. That's also very important. And at the end, if we implement these things, what we get is an end-to-end third-party life cycle from onboarding to then annual monitoring and renewal or exit. Yes, and it gives us a complete supply chain transparency, which is very important. For DORA, it's very important that we have this automatic population of this register of information and an audit-ready evidence repository. We ask if you're ready today. Yes, that's the goal. The goal is to be ready at any moment to get audit reports for the regulator. Okay, so not to be too theoretical, I will now go and show a few things in DORA app itself. So, okay, what we have here, I already logged into DORApp. Yeah, and DORApp here, we have one register information. Then we have a lot of tasks that I need to do in the next 7 days. So let's see, I have to review a lot of questionnaires from different points of view, yeah, for some different suppliers. Yes, ALM, third-party risk management, information security and cloud computing, and so on. Yes, and then this is the reporting part. We didn't do any reporting yet, And what I would like to start is now. We have here one, we call it partner. This is a supplier, Holy Centra. Yeah? And in this Holy Centra has got exactly one contact. This is now me. Yeah. And so this is our supplier that we already have, and we see this supplier already received some questionnaires. Yeah. And what we want to see, I will show you how we can do an annual monitoring by automatically sending questionnaires to suppliers. Yeah. So first, in DORApp, we can define so-called questionnaire templates. So this is now one possible template in which we define what question forms are going to be sent. Those question forms can be defined in DORApp. Yes, so I will now look up one of those questionnaire forms. Let's say I will take the information security and click edit here. You see here we've got questions like do you have an information security management system in place? Do you hold an ISO 27001 certificate? And obviously then you can also define the scope, or you can attach the certificate and so on. Basically, you can, we have standard questionnaires, but you can also define your own. You can then go and have here add additional fields. So this is like a form builder that you know. You can also make rules that you have to, if you answer yes here, then you have to specify the scope and things like this. Yeah? So you can define here many questions, and especially you can also define many such forms. Yeah? So we have here, for instance, you can also ask about fraud. Yeah? And then you've got another form about fraud prevention. This one here in particular is very, very short. Yeah? And there might be longer ones. Yes. So I will not go into detail here. What I would like to show you now is also that there is a predefined workflow. Yeah? This is called blueprint. And I will now go to the service provider questionnaire blueprint. Take this one. And what you can see here is, I hope I can make this a bit larger. Yes. So basically here you can really define, we have a predefined one, but you can really define to say, okay, a questionnaire is first sent to the respondent. Yeah? And so then it's in process at the service provider, who can then enter all the questions in these forms that I showed you before. Then the respondent can submit the questionnaire, and then the review starts, and we can request corrections. Then we can, when we complete the review, then we can also update the register information. So this is a very good thing, because now we can really update with any relevant information we get from from our supplier directly in the register, and then we finish. So, but of course you're able here to define new states and transitions. You know, I can click here and create new states and so on. So it's also flexible to be then tailored, but it also works out of the box. Yeah. And I will not make any changes. Maybe for each of the stages, we can also say what is the maximum amount of time they can last. We can then also send emails. Yes, for example, if we will escalate 4 days before the deadline. Yes, if we click here, yes, we can. No, I can't open this email notifications. Yeah, this is send reminder. So I can send here a reminder. I can see. Yes, and if I click here, I get back. I wanted to show the templates. Actually, I will do it like this. So if you look now, the reminder here. So here you can then edit and also say how this email should look like and so on. Yeah? So basically you can automate also when which email will be sent to your supplier and so on. Yeah? So yeah, that's the things that you can do. So you can escalate here, send reminders and communicate and so on. And last but not least, then at the end, what I would like to show you now is for this partner called Holy Centra. Yeah? We will see that actually there was already one questionnaire sent previous year. It was due on 30th of June. Yes, this one is finished. But then I already created one for this year, which is due until 9th of 7. This is in 2 weeks. Yes, and it's already in process. So if I click it, yeah, you see it's in process. You see that there is already a supply chain of 3 services. DORApp, there's something called Zoho Vertical Studio, and there's also some software development. So these are sub-services, yeah, with their providers. All this data is here because it was already here in the last year. Yeah. It was entered last year, and what I want to show you now is that because this is now an annual monitoring, I will just click here. The supplier, in this case, that would be me. I got an email that I need to supply the answer to that questionnaire. If I click here, then I will jump into that questionnaire. And for instance, then I have to fill out all the forms. Yeah? If I click now on this information security that we had, so basically what I see here is all the answers that I already had in previous years. I don't need to enter the whole data once again. Yeah. When I go through, for example, I see, okay, my ISO certificate actually expires this year, and let's say we prolonged it for 2 years, and then I will also upload I will just upload some file, yes, and then I will upload also the audit report. I'll take another PDF here. And let's say that I don't have any other changes I want to do on my answers, yes. So I will just scroll through it, so I don't need to change anything. Then I will click Save. But then you see, but there is one unanswered question, yeah. Is there a risk assessment and risk management methodology in place? So basically this year there seems to be a new question and this was not yet answers, and we will say yes and some comment, and then everything else is okay and we can save it. What happens now? Of course, we have to fill out also all the other data. So basically the system really wants us to go through all that red dots here, yes. I don't know if I have the part other. This one is very simple, yeah. Yeah. There's nothing to say, then I can tick and so on, yeah. So basically at the end, all the forms have to be answered, but we will not do that. We will not do that. All that. I think about 1,000 questions in this particular case. What we can also do, we can also update the supply chain. So basically, the supplier here can say, yeah, I would like to actually have now a new sub-service. DORApp has got a new sub-service, yes. And let's say that we have AWS, yeah, also. Well, that's of course possible, and we can then say save here. And now we have to also then add some information about AWS, so we can really enter all the data about the whole supply chain. So now I'm going back, and I will now show you. So I'm now the reviewer. Yes, I will go to questionnaire reviews. Yes, and there must be for our Chief Information Security Officer, there must be a review, and we see there is a review already. And I will just start the review. And now I will show you how the Chief Information Security Officer will see this. You can click here, the answer analysis. And it needs, because there are really a lot of answers in there. Then there's basically all the answers in there. And on the other hand, we could here filter. Yes, we can say, I would like now to see only the information security questions, because I'm concerned only in the information security part. And on the other hand, what I see here is that what the answer was in the previous year and what the new answer is. Yes, and here see that it's modified. So if I click here and I see I just want to see modifications, then I see, okay, the questions about the validity of the certificate changed, and also there are 2 new attachments. Yes, and that's all fine. Yeah, so basically I really need to just now take care about those parts of the questionnaire that really changed. Yeah. On the other hand, if I say, okay, I want to see all, I might see here the scope. This is not a very good answer, a very broad scope. Yes. Here, as a reviewer, I can also click here and write simply a comment and say, dear service provider, please describe in detail, yeah, and just send it. Yeah. So I'm just sending this in the platform itself. And if I go back now, I think here I have to just refresh. Yeah, the provider will actually get an email. Yeah, because there might be many comments. We send this only once per day at the end of the day, but I have one example somewhere. I will show you. Yeah. So basically, then that's an example that on this questionnaire for the scope, yeah, there's a comment. Then you can click here and go to the questionnaire and look at the comments. So we go to the answer analysis, and I hope we will see now those comments. It takes a while again to load because there here are really a lot of questions. Yes, yeah, because there are so many. We can filter again. We can click here, and then we see there's one new comment. Yeah, and then we can answer back. Yes, I will do it. Yeah, and now again the message will be received by the subject matter expert that looks at the information security and so on. So basically, there's also a complete audit trail of the whole communication. Yes, And if I go back now, I am again the reviewer. Again, of course, if I will click on that, then I will also see that new comment. Yeah. What we can also do, I will show this maybe in this case, yes. The system can also automatically calculate scoring. Yeah. In this case, we have, in this questionnaire, we have some basic questions about this service, and then we have information security, a lot of questions, and then we have business continuity management, and I will now collapse everything. Yeah, so the system can also apply to all the answer scoring, and then also define levels. So here we have 190 points of 200. Yes, so we are green. 53 of 75. We are yellow. Yes, and again, these things can be defined. Yeah, you can if I go back to the definition. Yes, you can say. Yeah, for each such answer, yeah, yes, no, you can always say assign a score. Yeah, and you can say this gives me 1 point and this gives me 0 points. Yeah, so basically you can define the scoring. We have also predefined scoring for some questionnaires. This depends what you would like to have. Yes, and on the other hand, what you can also define is also in your questionnaire templates. You can also, this is this template, for example, for information security scoring, you can define what the maximum score is and also the score rating. Yeah? So this is, you can also name them differently as low risk, medium, high risk, or vice versa, and from 0 to 50% it's low, and so on and so on. So you can really define those things and then have also the visibility. Yeah. So that's another thing that you can do. And at the end, I'll show this also, is what you can also do is populate that data into a register of information or the software services register. I will click here to see the register. Yeah, so basically, the register of information is a very detailedly defined list of possible Excel templates or data that has to be entered. But here, this is much more user-friendly. We can click here to see what kind of contracts we have in the system, including that DORApp. Yeah. We can see what services there are provided, SaaS and so on, consulting and different services, what functions there are. And of course, there are then also a lot of interconnections. Yes, for instance, if you look at the contract DORApp, yeah, we then also see it serves the function of 635, and this is the function is called regulatory reporting, yeah, and so on. So basically, that's it's very easy then to click around here, yeah, basically with these questionnaires and then with the reviews, basically the whole register of information can be populated almost automatically. There's almost no data except data from the financial department about what the expenses are. Otherwise, everything can be populated automatically, the whole supply chain and so on. Yeah. And for the register information, I would then also like to show in the reporting part. Yes, so the register information is a very complicated structure, but we can show such a register also, and click to the reports in a tabularic way. Yes, so here we see all the services, all the service providers, and then what services they are providing, and what the costs are. So, and this is actually mostly then populated from those questionnaires and that are reviewed before that. What is also very important, and this was very important for governments, is that there's also analytics. Yes, so basically there are standard metrics. Yes, so there are different metrics. Matrices here we have which service providers for which of our entities that we have in our. So basically here we have two entities. We have a reinsurance company and a normal insurance company, which is using which service providers. Yes. Then we have the services by country, provision of the services. So it goes in the direction of concentration risk. Maybe not to go now to all those. Yeah. It's very important then to see who are the headquarters of our service providers, and then we see how we are. Usually we see that we are quite dependent on the United States, yeah, on providers from the United States, and so on. Yeah, so basically those are the things. We can also see which providers are supporting critical and important functions. Here we see how many functions are critical, important, yeah, and so on. And also we can also drill in here. So we see how our insurance companies got 4 important functions. If I click in, then I see these functions, and I can go, okay, into more detail. I'm interested into this function, yeah, and I can always drill in. And now I see the function, and if I click here, I can also go then to the services that are supported. And so if I maybe I click edit here, and then yeah, then I see the services. So you see, this is now the DORApp service. So everything is interconnected. Yes, we can go from the analytics and then really go into the full detail to see what the impact of our third parties are actually. What we can also do, that's also very important, is that we can go here back to one of the questionnaires. I think I will take the one for Holy Centra from previous year. We can assign also risks. We can say, okay, we can really assign to this service. There's risk. We have an incomplete vulnerability management process. Yes, so this is a third-party risk, and of course that's a high. And the residual risk is also the same now. It is now for the Holy Centra provider and for a certain service. You can click here and see the details. So it's this one and some description. And then you can take also and define remediation actions, the treatment of the risks, and so on. Yeah. I think I would not like to go into too much detail. Lisa, how am I in time?
Yeah, Mateusz, we need to move to the questions. We also have questions related to DORApp. So
yeah, so then I will simply finish now. Yes, I hope I could show you a few ideas on how this is done in one complete platform and how things are interconnected and not in Excel and not in any external email systems and so on. And yeah, let's move to the questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think we can start with the DORApp related questions, so you can maybe show also in case something. First question is from Vladislav. How does DORApp work with the proportionality principle? As I understood, the proportionality principle also covers the contractual arrangements. I also will send the question into the chat in case you want to see it.
Yeah, DORApp for the part of the contractual arrangements, yes. Of course, you can register the contractual arrangements. You can also upload the contracts and so on. And DORApp can perform a check of the minimum requirements of contractual arrangements according to DORA. This is done with AI. Yeah, so this is the part that we cover with the tools. If you have any specific question or any function that you would need additionally for that, I would be glad to discuss this with you. This is what we do at the moment.
Yeah, so to elaborate my question, so basically, if to read the DORA regulation, it says that the proportionality principle applies to titles 2, 3, and some others. And one of them is like contractual requirements. Even though it says the minimum contractual requirements, sometimes the service providers do not pose any like risks because they are so small and so specific that they do not really like are not embedded in the systems. Just like some, I don't know, a switch on the website, like a language switch. So it doesn't really pose any risks, real risks to the company. And but still, due to the minimum contractual requirements, sometimes it's like unproportionate to, you know, ask to have a, I don't know, a DORA addendum or whatever. So I was just thinking that if the DORApp checks based on the minimum contractual requirements, does it also take into consideration the criticality of the service provider, just in case that, okay, then like whether if it's not critical and does not pose any risks, then maybe proportionality principle takes over and some contractual requirements could be omitted.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and very practical question, yeah, because tools are always, one thing is tool and the other is then, let's say, real life, yeah, and then one thing is rules and one is real life. So first of all, you have to look at is this a service in the first place, yes? Because if it's just pure software, yeah, like typically would be Acrobat Reader, yeah. Most of our clients, for instance, say that Acrobat Reader is not a service, yes. Of course, if you have Acrobat Creative Cloud, yes, which is really a cloud service, they put it into the register of information, but if they have just Acrobat Reader, they do not do it, yeah. And and then, of course, all of these things do not apply. Yeah. And but maybe Andrei will correct me. I didn't find until now 100% certain set of rules, yeah, for that. Yeah. So every company or the decisions are made based on individual companies, yes, because I know a company that says, okay, if Acrobat Reader has got an automatic update service, yeah, then they treat it as a service. But I think this is not in the spirit of proportionality. Yeah, in my opinion, Acrobat Reader is not a threat, yeah, at all, and it's really not problematic. Yeah.
Yeah, from my point of view, the most important criterion for that it's mapping with critical and important functions. Do we need this service? Do we need this software for our critical and important functions, and how it influences that function? So it should be assessed. And on the slide, so you can see some checklist. I've made it in accordance to DORA to understand what kind of elements should be checked for contractual requirements. And as you can see, there are two sets of requirements. One for the common for all service provider, and the second one for the critical and important service provider who support related functions. This is the thing. And another comments about that, we have to use some Q&A session from the official authority, some frequently asked questions, and they have additional comments about supplier classification, register of information, and contractual requirements. For example, they had some comments, do we need to add information related to Visa and MasterCard in our register of information? Do we need to add information about our intra-group service provider? So these answers you can find from the official authorities. It's provided, and they regularly update the previously asked questions pages. So please use them in terms of some questions. It's quite a good idea.
Did this help you?
Not really, because as you can see, okay, there is minimum contractual clauses, or I understand it, but sometimes in practice, what I have faced is that some service providers, even though they are classified as ICT service providers, they do not pose any risks at all. So, and it seems sometimes unproportionate to ask them to update their terms of service conditions or whatever, just to meet these minimum contractual clauses. So that's why I'm curious, could the financial institutions use the proportionality principle to justify that we have onboarded a service provider, but we, due to the criticality of the service provider and the services that they provide to us, we decided not to go and I don't know, sign any DORA addendum just to meet these minimum contractual clauses. This is the thing.
Yeah, in terms of DORA, they expect that you have this minimum, but without some specific criterion for audits, for example, for security measures and etc. That means that you have to be ready to conduct something like risk assessment in terms of that suppliers. And there is no requirements about risk appetite statement, so you can choose your own one. Or if the risk over the risk appetite, outside the risk appetite, you can also accept it. But the main idea of DORA that it should be accepted by the management board. So in terms of requirements in the contracts, from my practical point of view, we use this information from the contracts as an information about baseline security controls for inherent risk assessment. And if the risk is higher, then we expect it is higher than our risk appetite. We will discuss with suppliers some additional contractual clauses, some additional controls, some additional monitoring activities. And if the risk level is over our risk appetite, we will escalate that thing to business owner, to management board, to risk committee, and they will decide should we sign the contract with these suppliers or not, or we should avoid it. This is the thing. So risk management approach is on your side.
So did I understand you correctly that if the supplier is under the risk appetite of the institution, then it might be okay to accept the terms, even though they do not have all the minimum contractual clauses based on DORA? And if it's over, then yeah.
Mostly it's on your side, but of course, supervisory authority can ask ask some evidence, ask some additional question for that. And to control some huge service provider, as you know, there is some DORA oversight activities. And right now, I think 19 critical service providers identified in the European Union, and this year they will be audited by the authorities. So this is the general approach for that.
Okay, got it. Yeah,
so basically, as long as you documented this, yes, yeah, I think you're okay, or at least they might complain, yeah, but I think you're okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is how our clients are doing this. Yeah, they're really applying this proportionality, yes, especially the smaller ones, yes, who have no leverage to actually ask Adobe to to do whatever, yeah.
And could you please give me 1 minute to give some suggestions about risk management, because we have some question about that. We can see your question, your hand, Mikhail, so I will give you the word in a couple of minutes, but right now I would like to highlight some important thing about risk management. You can see it on this slide from the right side. If you're talking about DORA, we have some strict requirements about risk ante assessment. And in the CDR, we have some specific topic, some specific focus for risk management. It's operational risk, legal risk, ICT risk, reputational risk, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. From my point of view, it's not really useful. It's not very well balanced. And methodology for third-party risk assessment. No, for example, ICT risk is a part of operational risk, and it's quite strange to separate them from operational risk. And if you're talking about cybersecurity, it's a part of ICT risk. So I don't like that approach. Right now, we're using another one. It's like some practical recommendation for you. So we use DNB's questionnaire for the outsourcing, and they identify 10 different type of risk from, for example, vendor lock-in, some compliance risk, some geographical and data location, data access, cyber attack risk. And from my point of view, this approach is more balanced, it's more useful, and right now we use that one. For example, our cybersecurity department assess risk number 9 and number 10. DPO assess risk related to data location. IT and business owner access risk related to vendor lock-in and concentration. And I can recommend use this methodology, this taxonomy of risk as a baseline for risk management of suppliers. So it's from DNB, so from the Netherlands. Unfortunately, it's not like a requirement for all, but from my point of view, it's quite balanced risk management approach. Yes, Mikhail had a question.
Yes, thanks, Andrei. I just, if I understood correctly on Vladislav's question, I just wanted to comment there that not signing a DORA addendum with all non-critical or non-important ICT providers, but DORA sets criticalities to report incidents, and one of them is data breaches also. So even if it's a non-critical provider, if they are involved in a data breach, so it could be a triggering criteria where we must report that incident. So everyone must sign it. This is my opinion. This is a reason.
Yes, it's quite interesting, because if you're talking about incident notification, we have to be aware about 3 directions of notification. The first one is talking about DORA.
So the vendor should satisfy our policies, inform us whenever they have an incident. So it's all connected.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're talking about data breach. It's usually privacy-related incidents, and we have to notify local data protection authority about that. And the triggers, the different. If you're talking about cybersecurity incident, it's more about our cost of breach, our volume of breach, and etc. But if you're talking about data breaches, privacy-related incidents, the main trigger for us, it's risk for subjects, and it is important because
no, I wasn't talking about GDPR only, about DORA.
You can't split them, because in terms of DORA, you have some strict requirements for notification financial authority. if you're under NIS2, for example, for credit institutions, you also need to notify National Cybersecurity Center. And in terms of the data breaches, you also need to notify Data Protection Authority. So the main recommendation from my side, and it's quite a good practical thing, you have to have some specific incident notification, not policy, but just specific incident notification guidelines, how to transfer all the criteria and how to notify different authorities in terms of the different types of incidents. This is quite important. And the authority expect that you have some specific guidelines for that. For example, we received some question about that a couple of days ago, and I mentioned NIS2, and they asked us that we have to be more specific in our incident management policy and provide more guidelines about aligning DORA-related incidents and NIS2-related incidents. They expect that. And okay, is it good for you? Or we need to discuss this topic more deeply?
I'm good.
Incident notification. Okay.
Okay,
And I would like
think
to
let's.
Lisa,
Okay, yeah, just
let's-
finish, and we'll need to move to other questions also.
Yeah, it was a really interesting question from Vladislav here. And Vladislav sent us a lot of questions. Thank you. And it was some question about third-party related functions, how many people needs for that, and something like that. So let's discuss that topic. Mateusz, what do you think about resources that we need to have to comply all third-party risk management?
This is the question, I guess. I will send it to the chat just so you can also see it. I suppose you meant that. Do you think it's possible to comply with DORA without dedicated separate function for third-party management within the institution? This one, right?
Yes, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Let's discuss it. It's quite interesting. What did you think, Mateusz?
I think that from the clients that I work with, they do not have they usually started with DORA the way that they put this into one department, yes. Okay. But then later, they either made a multidisciplinary team, okay, like a task force, or the larger companies, they have a third-party department anyway. Yeah? So for smaller companies, I think they will not have that. That's not reasonable, yeah? To make that. But for larger companies, I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Same from my side. Unfortunately, there are a lot of small regular tasks for third-party risk management. We need to spend a lot of time for preparing register of information the first time, and we need to spend quite valuable time for maintaining this register. We need to coordinate all the activities related to due diligence from different departments: legal, compliance, risk, cybersecurity, IT, business owner. The same from risk management. We have to organize some monitoring activities. And from my point of view, it should be some specific, some dedicated department or maybe people. And the best place of them is in risk management department, like a part of risk management. It also can be part of procurement department if you have that one. It's not really good place for cybersecurity, but I have seen a lot of companies, they have some third-party risk manager under cybersecurity department, but they are only focusing on cybersecurity areas. But in terms of DORA, cybersecurity is a small part of DORA-related things. It's more about resilience, a lot of requirements for data allocation, concentration, vendor locking, and usually it's not a cybersecurity area of responsibility. This is the thing. So unfortunately, we need to have some separate methods to be ready. Provides a lot of information, a lot of registers, maintain them, and improve our third-party risk management. This is the thing.
Yeah, but because if somebody doesn't orchestrate it, yes, then all the subject matter experts will not be working coordinated. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah, so somebody has to own the process. Yeah, that's important. Yeah.
And of course, we can automate some activities. For example, due diligence, checking contracts, filling DORA register. But we need some department, some expert who will create the methodology, create the whole processes, and check the quality of that data generated by artificial intelligence. This is the thing. Vladislav, what do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you for your feedback, but I also agree that and also small companies and larger companies, I don't know what you mean by small companies. Small company like 10 people or 250 people?
In terms of Europe, there is a strict requirement to 250. It's a small, medium organization.
Okay. So, but like for the smaller companies, I think it's a bit problematic to,
Yeah, absolutely.
Separate function or separate person who would oversee all the, implementation. This is the biggest, I think, problem. But yeah, I got your point. Thank you.
But I think that me and Andrei agree that IT security and IT itself probably is not the best. So they shouldn't be too technical people. Yes, that's important. Yeah.
Dear colleagues, I just will notice that recording also will stop soon, and just in case all questions will be answered, we have them all, and we also will have to come into finishing the webinar because we have also extended time. But all questions will be answered. All information you will receive after the webinar in a follow-up email as well. Okay.
So, but we can discuss a couple of more questions if you want, because we have a lot of topics to discuss. And it was my suggestion, because we received a lot of different questions for different topics. Maybe DORApp should organize this series of webinars related third-party risk management, for example, for more specific webinar for DORA ROI, more specific webinar for risk management, more specific webinar for monitoring, if you want. What do you think?
Yeah, also in case if people here still interested, we can make it this way. Does the platform comply with EU cloud sovereignty, and what AI features does this platform offer? That's about DORApp.
Yes, it complies. Yeah, and it's also hosted in the EU, so it's actually in the Netherlands and with backup in Dublin, and that's I think absolutely critical. Yeah.
About
Okay, and
AI features, what do you have in your platform?
This part actually that I don't understand what I have. So we are handling at the moment DORA itself. Yeah, I thought it was related to let's say the compliance of the software itself. Yeah.
I guess it's about maybe AI assistant that we have in DORApp, which features we provide as DORApp, which have AI.
Okay, yeah, the AI part. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, at the moment, the AI part provides the feature of this checking of the contractual clauses, yes, the minimum requirements. But we are building this for the future to be, let's say, an AI assistant that will assist you with all the tasks have also access to all the data and also help you to check the concentration risk, for instance, and so on. Yeah, so basically, as a general assistant in all the matters concerning DORA or NIS2. I can't answer this more in detail at the moment, yeah, but we are working on that.
Okay, and there was one more question. Can the subcontractors use tool and have this security questionnaire be at least partially auto-populated for them based on their information in the system?
Yes, that's what happened. So basically, when I was switching there between two tabs, yes, in one tab I was in the service providers portal, yeah, and they are using that platform from special portal for third parties, and here in our case, the data was auto-populated because this was the second year of this questionnaire, and but usually the questionnaire already can be populated with data that we already have. For instance, if the contract was signed and we already know what the sub-providers are, then we can already pre-populate that data. So all the data that we can be pre-populated are also then pre-populated, but of course other things have to be answered by the service provider. Yeah.
Okay. Also, maybe people who are left with us, maybe you have some questions that you would want to ask us, so we could give you priority and answer your questions. If not, we can continue discussing received ones. Okay, I guess we can discuss one more question that we have received, one of the last, from Maria. If the agreement with an ICT service provider consists solely of the provider's terms and conditions, which is standard terms that are not negotiable, how can the institution ensure compliance with the minimum contractual clause requirements? How should this be addressed from a contractual and regulatory perspective? Are there any recommended best practices?
We have discussed it during answering Vladislav's question, so I can. So there is nothing to add from my side, Mateusz.
No, it's maybe the bottom line is that there's not such a straight answer. Yes, okay. Of course, just maybe to repeat, yes, of course there are this minimum, and if you have two vendors, one is fulfilling it and the other not, then it would be obviously better to choose the one who fulfills that. Yeah, but if it's not possible, you can apply this proportionality, or you can try to apply it. Yes. The chances is that nobody will complain are not big, yeah? But especially not for if this is for used for critical functions, then absolutely I would not recommend doing this.
And there is one interesting approach from Denmark. You can see, you can find that in cybersecurity and supplier relationship guidelines from Denmark. They have a matrix is related to your size and size or supplier. For example, if you're a small company and you purchase some services from Google, Google won't change the contractual requirements for you. But if you're a huge company and you purchase some services from small company, they will add everything you want in the contracts. And in these guidelines, you can see and can find some additional practical requirements about negotiations, about what should we do in this balance of power between the company and the supplier. can recommend this guidance. Is quite useful.
Yeah,
Also, we have a question in the chat. Okay, Mateusz?
Sure.
Okay. Can we implement for OT security? Like
In terms of suppliers, some services or purchases can be your supplier and have to be managed as all other supplier. But in terms of operation technology security, operation technology in some of suppliers can be important or critical for you, especially if you work for some huge technological industry like electricity or nuclear power plants. So I have experience with nuclear power plant, and we have a lot of requirements for OT security.
Any more questions, maybe? You can write them or you can ask out loud.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for presentation. It was useful. Would be great to have some further presentations and meetings to discuss, because in general, it's interesting to understand whether your, for example, portal can provide us with some useful tools that we can use, and in general share some practical useful cases. So it's very interesting for me to understand, like regarding the exit strategy. Should we pre-sign or even sign be IST service provider, or only have it in paper? Because sometimes when we are thinking about how to substitute our existing service provider, we just need to also assume some costs and so on. So the question is, how it's in your maybe experience, how it was. Should we sign agreement, or there is no such obligations? Thank you.
Yes, I can give you some recommendation. So in terms of third-party risk management lifecycle, you have to add some exit strategy or some requirements or some clauses during the contract. Of course, you have to describe something inside that stage. If you're talking about exit plans more specific, they have to be prepared during onboard. It is quite important part when you start working with supplier, but you need to implement the solution, customize for your process, educate your employees, implement some security controls, and etc., etc., etc. And of course, you have to prepare more specific exit plans and strategy, especially for critical service providers for you. And of course, you will use these plans and strategies for the last stage for exit. But you have to be ready to have something in contract, something on onboarding, and during the last stage. Of course, some triggers can be found during monitoring. So if you see that you have a lot of incidents, you have weaknesses of controls, you can assess security posture of the vendors, and it might be a trigger for exit strategy, certain exit plans. So it's a general answer. If you want to find some requirements or templates, I have seen one interesting examples from NOREA. It's a Dutch organization, and they, a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, they published some templates for exit plans. I will try to find the link and publish it in the chat. it's a general advice for exit strategy. Mateusz, maybe you will find some. You can add something.
Yes, I'm looking at this more from the perspective of. I mean, I did a lot of software in insurance, yes, and part of that was also then, and this was their core systems, and of course they were critical. They were serving critical and important functions, and there were a lot of then also migrations, yeah, and mostly they took from half a year, 1 year, 2 years, yes, so very big projects, yeah. So it's we know that sometimes it's so it really depends on the software, yeah. It's not just it has to be looked at case by case. There might be a tool like DORApp, yeah. An exit plan would be simply to okay, DORApp has got the possibility to export all the data, yes, and then maybe you will have another tool and you can import all the data, yeah, and it's quite simple, yeah. But for insurance systems, on the other hand, yeah, you will always need your supplier in the migration process, yeah, and you can only estimate how much that will cost later, yeah. So it's very important that for such big projects, yes, that they guarantee that they will support you, yeah. That but they will probably not tell you it's going to cost 1 million or 5 million or 500,000, yeah, yeah. But it's they will probably push you in the direction to say it's gonna be time and material, yeah. So what you can say is to negotiate already a decent price, yeah, and you can calculate it with the costs of you know how much such projects cost, yeah. So it's really, otherwise it's really hard, yeah, hard to fix that, yeah. The tool vendor will likely just say, okay, we can do that, but it's gonna cost as much it's gonna cost, yeah. So I would recommend to define a good daily rate, yeah, because not to say then later to start negotiation about that, how much that could cost, yeah. And also I would try to that they guarantee that they will have tool support already, so that the system is not going to be closed and you're not able to get the data out, at least, yeah. This is my practical approach to that, yeah. Not so much for the regulatory, but for the practical point of view. Thank you.
There is one another interesting question about new guidelines or RTS from the authority. It's quite interesting question because a couple of years ago it was a big problem because there is no some list of the all requirements, list of the all standards and recommendations. And it's quite hard to understand what kind of requirements we have. Right now it's a little bit easy because all mandatory RTS were established by the authority related to KLPT, incident management, registry of information, and etc. And we don't expect something important updates soon. For example, only just related to outsourcing for non-IST providers, but it's not really important for DORA compliance. So right now, all the RTS are established. I have my own register for all the requirements. I try to regularly update it on Patreon, and if you follow me on Patreon, you can find this the whole list. You can also try to find updated RTS on the official ESI's website, and for example, EBA. But right now, if you're talking about DORA, it's around 15 documents related to ICT security and related process. It's not really effective way how to find them. So please check IBA or other ESA websites, or you can find, for example, the list from my website. And the final list of CDRs is also published in DORA Pro handbook. And from my point of view, it will be stable for maybe a year, maybe a couple of years. So you can use the list provided in the handbook reference.
So you are now referring to Patricia's question, yeah, maybe because she said in the app. So I think this is, she meant DORApp also. Yeah? So basically,
yes, you can provide comments how you update your app in terms of new regulations.
So it's so in terms of maintaining, yes, if we, for example, the register information was the first thing we implemented, yes, we guarantee that that's going to be up to date. Yeah. So that's something we guarantee, and we have many clients that need it. Yeah. So we will do this. If there is a completely new regulation, yes, then of course we cannot yet guarantee that. But of course our strategy is that we will support the whole all pillars of DORA. Yeah. And also we will support NIS2. Yeah, so it's in our interest to do that because otherwise we will not be able to support you in the future, and maybe somebody else will. Yeah, but if we have a module like third-party risk management, then we support it. And if DORA is going to change, we will also support that. This is something we also guarantee contractually. So we guarantee changes of the legislation are going to be updated. Yeah. But of course, if there's new, then that's a different story. But as I said, not so many things changed in the last 2 years. Yeah. So changes are more in the detail and not in the legislation itself.
Yeah, you can use that list as a primary set of requirements in terms of DORA. It's in the DORA handbook. It is updated, and the most important for us, it's about ICT risk management framework, the most important, and we also have some less important but topic specific like TLPT, ICT third-party risk management policy, and something like that. You can find that list in the DORA Pro handbook.